Hey there, my name is Renee Prince, and I'm a clinical practicing herbalist, and I've had a school and a clinic for many years. I've been in practice for 30 years, as well as my family, from a folk herbal standpoint, has come up with herbal medicine and food as medicine and things like that. I'm also a traditional healer, which means I use the old ways of many First Nations people to continue that practice forward, both in physical healing and spiritual healing. And I also have a school, Fourelementschool of Traditional Medicine. I am in this beautiful garden here in the Blue Ridge that donates all of its medicine and all of its food to underserved communities. And so I have the blessing of being able to see and get and ask for the support of wild medicine all the time. And I'm here doing something else, volunteering. And I came across just magnificent blooming plants, this little guy right here that's in my face, and I decided to go ahead and talk to you about it because I think that all herbal medicine and all food knowledge should be shared with no discrimination, and whether or not you can go to school or you have elders to teach you about it, it's not fair. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about it. I think it's important. So this plant that I'm sitting with is a plant that's traditional coneflower. That's like the folk name for it. It's called echinacea. And echinacea is a plant that anywhere in the world, cross-culturally, that we see this plant, that it has been an ally to the human beings and the animals in that area. That this plant is most known and best known for toxicity and poison. I just wanted you to see it up close. It's magnificent. It's a huge ally to the animals, insects, and people in its region. So when I teach in school, I teach energetics. I like to speak about energetics. And the idea around what this plant does, I never ever teach this plant is for that. That is the wrong way to think about it, because just like we are dynamic creatures, meaning we have lots of facets to us and ideas and qualities, so do our plant allies. And the thought and the idea that this plant helps toxicity, and really harmful toxicity, usually heat toxins, and heat toxins look like infections, poison, septicemia, all things that would really make it so it was hard to survive a situation. So from a First Nation standpoint, in the areas that this grows, even in the Northern European areas, we would see this plant used for things like snake bites or toxicity of an organ set. So you think of like septicemia, where you have so much poison in one area that it's overloading into the body and going to the other systems. Also for spider bites that are very aggressive and that you can feel the poison moving and you have necrotizing tissues. We would use this plant in times of illness, like what we would call wind invasion, like a cold from the outside, or a bacteria or something like that, a virus. Only during the times that we would see it being super toxic, like a toxic overload. So I'll give you an example. If you had strep throat and you had lots of pus and pollutants in your throat that your body couldn't clear, or if you had a lung infection like pneumonia, and just say it was bacterial pneumonia, and it turned into having a fungus or something else there, and your body literally couldn't clear that phlegm out, and you had a lot of heat that was involved with it. So that's the way to think about it. So if you were going to use this for a cold, you would use it in a way that you would try to get the plant to that area of the body and actually touch it. So I'll give you a comparison. So if I used it for a snake bite, yes, of course, internally I would give it to you to help to stimulate your nervous system and your immune system to help the snake bite. But I would also mush it, pour it, drop it, put it in any way, spit poultice, whatever I had, tincture, into the actual bite as well. So let's make the comparison to an illness. I would only use this for a virus or an illness if I could get it there. So if I could drop a tincture down my throat and let it dribble down the back of my throat where my throat was actually sore, knowing that it was getting to those places that had an overload of that toxicity, of that infection, that's when it would best be served. Or if I had a toothache that was clearly infected and oozing, and you could drop it right into the toothache, something like that. Or there's traditional healing ways, like from a folk standpoint, not clinical, although I've done this for pneumonia and had it work wonderfully, where we would take the plant fresh if we could and actually put a shell on the chest and burn it like a smudge to breathe in to get to a really bad lung infection. And that kind of thought process would look contraindicated, like breathing in smoke. But the idea that the oils and all that it had to offer would be getting actually to the place where the infection was and touching it, that's a strong indication of like why that would work this time versus not breathing in smoke. Like obviously if you had a lung infection, smoke would be contraindicated, but that's the way that we would get it, almost like an inhalation. So, you know, throwing it into a pot and putting a blanket or a towel over your head to steam it in, that way too. I've just had it be more successful as a burn, as a smudge. So let's think about what this is again. Echinacea. So we're going to use it for heavy infections, for poison, for things we would consider to be toxic. If we used it in an illness, we'd want to get it on the illness, so into our throat as a gargle. The contraindication that I have with it is that it is an immune stimulator. So if you do have autoimmune issues, it could stimulate a flare-up. We don't give it to people who are having a flare of autoimmune issues. So that's, you know, it instigates the more work from the already overworked immune system. So toxicity, snake bites, spider bites, wounds that are getting infected, illnesses where you can get it onto the illness, sore throats, lung issues, stomach flu, where you could drink it and get it into your stomach, and only for short term, but such a huge, huge ally to our community. All parts used, traditionally aerial parts in the root, but use what's there available to you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on any kind of the social medias, but also Fourelementschool of Traditional Medicine. And my name's Renee Prince. Thank you so much for hearing me today. Have a good day.